This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Money.
Carey Ann, we're here, and Jason Hoover is here. Jason, thank you for coming. It's great to see you, brother.
Same here. I appreciate it.
And I don't know who this guy is in the middle. Who in hell invited? What's that thing on your chest there, brother?
Well, this is a balloon.
The balloon company. That's right.
It's a balloon company.
Balloon company.
Too funny.
I saw the balloon company guy standing on a corner selling balloons, and I thought, you might make a good guest.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
I was making animals out of it.
We are starting strong.
Hey, we are blessed with Andy Brown in the house from Remax.
Yes. Welcome,
First
Andy.
Choice. Yes, Andy Brown. Known Andy Brown for a long time. Before we get into that, though, and start picking on him anymore, let's talk about our sponsor.
Yes, our sponsor, Music City Removal. They're the #1 junk removal service in Nashville. From residential, commercial, and construction, they're experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. Whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants and are determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Yes, Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute. No, it isn't. But
And
that shirt is quite cute. I love it. So good.
I wore that shirt, not that one particularly, but I wore that brand for 27 years, Andy Brown. You know that.
Wow.
I do.
And for all those watching us here, all of our realtor friends and peers and so forth, I love this guy. I really do. He was my broker for years. I think he inspired me to go off and do my own thing. Eventually, no, I'm just kidding, Andy. But I don't know if you guys know this or not, Carey Ann, but he was broker of the year with Remax International about, 5-6 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
It was 4, but
4 years ago.
International too. That's amazing.
That's a big deal.
That is.
I don't know how many offices are within Remax.
There's 8,800 across the world, 4,600 in the U.S. So
Wow.
That's
quite an accomplishment.
That is an
Yeah.
accomplishment. So we're really honored to have this guy with us today. I remember when he just a knee-high to a grasshopper, in the business, and I had to get on him a few times about a few things, but he's really come a long ways, and I'm proud of him. Just very proud of you, brother.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate being here.
Now, you're here to share stories about Monte, right?
I can if you want to. Just depends on where you want to start.
Series.
Yes. Absolutely.
There's no stories still to share about me. I will tell on him though. One time, he used to wear these. It's like alligator shoes. What are they called?
Crocs.
Crocs. There they are. Crocs. I've never had any before.
Okay, I was going down with a cowboy boot, like an alligator cowboy boot, and then he just took me down with the Croc,
Somewhere different.
with a rubber shoe, sorry, with some holes in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And no offense, but that's what his dress shoe was at one time in his life.
Sound like my husband. It's totally fine.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
We call them, they're high-end Crocs, so they're just, we just keep rounding them up. It's really
but
fun.
anyway, I got in his case one time about because he's mentoring people, and he's a great mentor. He's really a great mentor. And I said, you can get by with stuff, Andy Brown, because of your knowledge, your expertise, your debonairness, and so forth. But some of these new agents, they're going to emulate you, and we probably want to step it up a little bit. And now he wears Remax on his chest.
So that's where the shoe came into play, where you were saying earlier. I got it.
Absolutely.
You're great all of this until you get to the shoe, is what you were saying. Too funny.
No,
Too funny.
It is good to have you here, Andy. Though, and you're with you've got a new company, First Choice, Remax First Choice. Mm-hmm. I know you're growing.
Great.
You're growing, and we're excited for that. And it's good to have that your smiling face here with us. So what I wanted to talk. The reason I asked Andy to come on with us, guys, is because of Andy's tenure in the business, because he's got that perspective of being broker of the year and having prior managed I mean, at one time you were managing like 200 agents, weren't you, or something like that yourself?
Yes.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible. I mean,
That's a lot.
Jason can
That
identify
seems
that.
overwhelming. I just think of the 13 people I have to manage. Wow. Whoa.
Try 200, and of course you can't tell them what to do, but you're responsible for everything they do.
Right. The law is set up that way. It's like they're independent contractors, but you have to manage them and everything they do, because everything they do comes back on you and your license.
Right.
And
Wow.
all of those things.
And if your agent does something wrong, then it must be you failing to manage them properly. Even though you can't tell them what to do, even though you've told them what to do, but they didn't do it. And guess who? They come knocking on their door. I don't want to scare you out of this position here, Jason Hoover.
As they read things.
As he's thinking, holy cow, we got 110
Looking at my exit out there.
120 agents in this office. But
Wait, exit? Isn't that another? Never mind.
It's a great name for a company.
yeah,
May
right.
look into that.
Or a sign over a door.
Too
So,
funny.
fortunately or unfortunately, I've experienced from both. But anyway, I wanted to talk about. I think all four of us see the real estate market as maybe a challenge, maybe a more challenging than ever. We've talked about this in bits and pieces before, but I'm, as I was sharing with Andy the other day, I'm really concerned about where things are at right now. And this is not to be a downer whatsoever, but it is to be a cautionary comments, I think, from tenure in the industry, of an observation of, okay, what's going on out there? I mean, as an example, Andy, I'd love to hear your perspective as what's it going to take to change the current status of a lack of inventory? What's it going to take? Any ideas on that? I mean, people are afraid to put their home on the market, it seems like. Or are we just because it's February and people don't, and more people are buying than selling unusually so? Or what's your take on this?
Well, I think part of it is, it's we just came out of an election cycle, so I think there's a lot that goes into that standpoint of a wait and see, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, just like one party thought they were going to get reelected, and one party thought they were going to get elected, and who knows what's going to happen in there. So you got a 50-50 going into, an election cycle, which always, a lot of people stand on the sidelines. Then you've got interest rates that have been, historically low, very historically low. So you've got a lot of refinances that have happened. So people took, that inventory off the market from that standpoint, because they said, hey, you know what? We've been through all these other things. Do I want to stay here? What do I want to do? I can't go outside. I can't do anything else. I'm just going to refinance my house, make it cheaper for me, stay where I am, that kind of stuff.
We did that. We did that. We refined.
Yeah, so that part's there, but I think it's somebody said once, I was either listening to a podcast, reading a book. Actually, I wasn't reading a book, so it was a book on tape or Audible or something like that. But it was there's a boogeyman everywhere. It's one of those. I think we have to use our skill set. The fact that we've been in this business doing these things to let folks know it's okay to sell your house. Now granted, they have to find some place to go,
right?
But it's like, if we are the professionals that we say we are, let us help you find that. Let's figure out what that is too, because if we've done it long enough, there's skill sets and ways to find other inventory that's out there. I mean, how many builders have we called? I know builders have inventory, or they have inventory backlogs, but they're going to build something, because I've also heard in this business over 20 plus years, builders mess up everything, over time, because they develop. And then in a time like this, they get like, oh, let's overdevelop. So at some point in time, that goes back around, to that space as well. But I mean, builders are good places to find that. So it's telling the better story to the consumers, that it's like, look, let's open the closet. The boogeyman's not there. Let's show you the light, and show you what we do. Be professional.
A girlfriend of mine, she's a broker up in Hendersonville, and she had a memory pop up today, and it was from 2013, that shared interest rates are low, there's low inventory, and so we were experiencing this back in 2013. She would say during the same time. So it could be the combination of multiple things and an election year, But you're right. I mean, why would you and I move if your interest rate's 2.25%, or 2.5%? I would figure out a way to brighten it up or
I know that
pick
Jason
out another wall or something.
Jason and I were telling our team just 4 or 5 months ago that, look, anytime you distract the population from business as usual, like you're talking about, it being an election year, it does affect the market. There's no question about that. I think we expected things to start moving forward. Things have still kind of been up in the air on the political standpoint, but also we've never had, in my experience, we've never had this kind of influx of people from other states at the level.
Yeah.
But I mean, Nashville's had, 100 people a day coming for years, but I don't know what the numbers are now. I haven't heard them lately.
It's got to be up there.
It's got to be way up there. But the other factor, a huge factor, is a lot of that high percentage, I think, of those people coming to town have different dollars than what we were used to spending here, and they're driving the prices up to a point that I question whether the local person can afford to put their home in the market and buy something else here locally. That's part of my conviction. Is I think those prices in the past, when a hot market happened, it was local people overall that were juggling, and they could afford to make the next step, because the next step was maybe 20,000, 30,000. Now when we see these giant leaps where a home is selling for 100,000 more than what it should have, that prices the local person out. I mean, a lot of people that if they put their home on the market today could not afford to buy their home, not locally, not the home next door.
Right.
They couldn't afford to buy that because things have gone up so quickly. So where do we go from here, Jason? Where do we go from here, man?
Well, and we were talking about the, with this inventory, it's right now it's speculation. And like you were saying about the new builds, I know when we were just talking about Edsel Charles,
right?
A very respected guy that he does some projections, and I'm sure you know him. But he bases most of that, or I think most of it, on he has a whole team of people looking at new builds throughout the throughout the states. But we had COVID hit that nobody saw coming, and it's a trickle effect that it impacts many different industries and businesses, and so and that caused the issue with the lumber. There's so many things that have happened. So with the interest rates being down, refinancing, or even everybody's at home now, let's remodel the house, and hey, I like my house now.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
I think that's a factor too.
It's like that TV show, Love It or List It now, or something like that. Where
Close.
yeah, and so we're experiencing a lot of that as well. And then yes, couple on that, it is February and it is an election, after the election cycle, and it still hasn't really settled down. So, I think we're unique in the sense that we do have a lot of outside people coming in. So, the country as a whole is experiencing the low inventory, but to couple that with a lot of buyers coming into, our area, I think it's putting even more pressure, and what's causing these multiple offers to be so insane, which is great for the sellers. But like you said, for the seller to buy something else, it becomes a problem.
Right? It's such a dynamic. When you're on the listing side of things, and you're like a millionaire, and then you get on the buyer side of things, and you're like a pauper all of a sudden. Just in one move, because you're just like what Mindy's going through right now with this unit you just put on the market. Now the phone's just going to be tearing up, and you're going to have people upset with you because you don't, whatever, just because it's such a tense and crazy time. I mean, the last one we put on the market 2 weeks ago, we had 75 showings on a Saturday and another 30, I think, at the open house. And we had agents literally yelling at us, saying, I don't like it that you let 75 people, and we're saying, well, what we're supposed to do about that, Because they wanted a private 1 hour showing. Well, how do you squeeze 75 entities? And there's not that many hours last time I checked in the day. And how do you make that happen and be fair to everybody? So it's crazy. I don't like that either. I think that's what people didn't realize is, look, I know it seems like it's a good thing for the selling agent, or listing agent rather, but it's not. It's terrible. Yeah. Because when you see the bigger picture, you realize of those 75 people that saw that house, and I forget how many, I think we had 12 or 14, 15 offers over asking price. That means there's 74 families out of home. Right. At an $850,000 price point.
Now that's concerning. That's insane right there at that price point.
Yeah, that's really, really concerning. So,
well, and I think, being a lender and that kind of stuff with interest rates and that kind of thing, go back as you were talking before in that 2013 kind of place, they were low. but they weren't this low.
This low, true, right?
You know,
right.
on that side. So the buying power and that kind of stuff, and the people moving in from outside,
Right,
you know,
combo.
bringing different dollars and that kind of stuff that are there.
Different glasses too.
Yes.
You know, they see as a value wasn't what we saw as a value.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've got one literally, you know, that came in, moved from California, sold a house in California, you know, bought a house in East Nashville 2 years ago, ended up selling that house in East Nashville, making a profit off of that, buying one out in Old Hickory, just because it was lower price point. Thought they could get a good value out of it. We put that one back on the market, and we've been talking for the last probably 3 months as to pricing. And I mean, this is a market, I mean, I've lived in that market for 20 years, so I know it really, really well. And he started pushing numbers, and he's like, well, what do you think we can get here? I was like, well, we're at the top of the market and that kind of stuff. But then I listed and sold one 2-3 doors down that went through a similar type of thing with multiple offers and that kind of stuff. And I came back to him and I said, I think we can push that price, you know, as far as that goes.
It's like a weekly thing. That's what's concerning.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
I mean, just a matter of a few months ago, wasn't anything like it is now.
Right,
How far
right.
can that go?
Well, and here's where the balloon comes back into play, is because at some point in time, the air is going to come out of it. You know, not my balloon, but,
Right,
but the
right,
balloon
right,
of
sure.
the market
Right.
and that kind of
And
stuff. that's
I
out
got to believe we are some sort of a balloon right now. And,
Right.
and I hate to say those words, I really truly do, but right now, you know, I'm concerned about how much higher it's. You know, my 37 years of doing this tells me there's got to be an adjustment. There has to be, for just healthy economy reasons. There's got to be.
Well, and Carey Ann was talking just a second ago, again, back to that, you know, 2013. If you look at that and go today or last year, that's 7 years. And typically it's about a 7-year cycle
Right.
is how things roll and that kind of stuff. Well, we go back probably to what, 08, 09, when it started going back up on that cycle. So we're well past a correction.
Yeah, we're 11 years into it anyhow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm measuring.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
And-
doesn't Etchell Charles reference like 2024 is a number that we should all be concerned about? I mean, not to scare us all, but
Sure.
You know, I do say, and I'm concerned for loan officers and also real estate agents who have been doing quite well over the last, you know, they haven't had to think outside the box. They haven't had to stretch out of their comfort zone. Like, just stuff was coming at everybody.
Right.
And all of a sudden their eyes really haven't been open to how to truly run a business within a business. And now, like, it doesn't matter if you have 15 buyers. Like, if you can't find the properties, you're still going to have no paycheck.
Right.
And are you
Right.
going to survive?
Right.
You know, I've got one of my top producers, referral sources, who did amazing last year. At the end of the year, she decided to transfer and purchase her own house. And you and I both know what all that takes, right? That's a lot on you, and getting kids and family moved, et cetera, et cetera. So she took literally maybe a couple months off. She has all these buyers. She hasn't closed one thing this year.
Right.
So far, not one paycheck.
And there's a
she
lot of
was
agents in that position right now.
the top of the top over at Benchmark. You know what I'm saying? And so you just think of she's doing all the right things,
Right.
but what's going to happen to that person who didn't think 2 steps ahead, who wasn't prepared? You know, the agents out there and or the loan officers. You know, I'm sitting doing masterminds with marketing and different strategies, and you know, don't be putting everything in one bucket. Be very diversified. You know, be thinking outside, because your refinances are going to eventually go away, right?
Right.
And then if we don't have any inventory, what are we all going to do? You know,
Right.
so you got to be strategic on all of that for sure. It's a lot to think of.
Well, and then you got the, you know, let's go back to the agents.
Right.
Like you were saying, you know, they haven't had to be a business owner.
Right.
And so I think, you know, with this, and then of course, you know, there's many other factors that are coming at the, you know, our business and, you know, affecting how we do business. You know, that is going to be a factor for some of those agents that are going to have to bow out.
Well, like you're saying, like the Zillows of the world, or the bigger companies that are coming into.
Yeah, if we just had to compete with our local fishermen,
Right.
I always say it doesn't matter how good the fish are biting. If there's too many fishing poles in the water, it's not
Right.
good for the fish, and it's not good for the fishermen. But now you got these big trawlers coming through that have billions of dollars worth of marketing power. They're scooping out a big chunk. I don't know what that chunk is, but it's getting more and more significant. Open Door grew 1,800% the year before COVID. I know that Zillow's opening up their own gig, you know, on the I don't know how it all is going to work with the person who's got the Zillow account now, but you look at Redfin's growth as well. I mean, And when you start seeing the dip of the market, you're going to see some of these other entities like Redfin as an example suddenly become more popular as the equity may start shrinking when the market does start going back over that hump again. So it's going to be an interesting time to see who's standing. Now, from an old guy's standpoint, it's the added pressure is always a good thing because we know that a lot of people aren't going to make it. But for my compassionate heart and yours of being a broker, Jason's of being a broker, and we all have some babies in the group, those are the ones I'm most concerned about, because there's some really good people that I just don't know they're going to make it. I hope they do. I really do. But they're going to have to really. The thing that Jason and I were talking about some of our agents the other day was at a mastermind group is, look, guys, you've got to develop your mental toughness right now more than ever before, because you are going to go through some shit. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't say shit on the thing, can I? But anyhow, you're going to go through. I'll say poop. Monty. Okay, I'll say poop. You're going to go through some poop. All right, and it's not going to be fun. It could be ugly, and you're going to have to continue, with the buy-in from the spouse and so forth. All these additional pressures because you're out there being busy. You're out there showing property. You're out there writing offers. And what do you have to show for it at the end of the day? Well, I'm doing better at that, but you've got to get some real mental toughness. And that's what I think, if we could say anything to our agents out there, be prepared to win the battle between your ears. Make sure that you're listening to things, reading the things that you need to do to develop that strength here, okay? Because you've got to have that. Not long ago, we brought into our organization a lady who was in the music career. Awesome, beautiful woman who started out in California years ago. She did the band thing for like 8 years, and then decided to go do her own thing. Got a record deal. Was working for 4 years on getting out there and had her schedule out. She was gonna be a superstar. Okay, she got all the goods. The day that she was scheduled to start her tour and push her new album that she spent 4 years creating was the day they'd been locked down on COVID. The same day, okay? Now, I told her, though, as I tell anybody in this scenario, is, look, the good news is you've already got the muscles developed, because you're going from one tough industry into another tough industry, but what's a lot of similarities, and that is keeping your vision ahead of you, doing the things, always continuing doing the things, building your skill level, having a coach, doing the right things and doing them persistently and consistently, because at the end of the day, we have to have this confidence as professionals that tonight, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are sitting at their kitchen table and they're making a decision. Look, honey, I didn't know you were pregnant. We're having or she, I'm whatever, she's saying, let's have a baby and we're gonna expand we need a bigger house. Or I don't like you anymore. I don't want to live with you anymore. I want a smaller house. Or let's size down. Let's get by the grandkids. I mean, Connie and I were struggling with this weekend. It's like we've got 7 grandkids and a great grandchild in Florida, and we're thinking, well, while the rates are low, I reached out to Sean. I said, can you get us pre-qualified? Because while the rates are low, we need to buy something down there for the future. But I mean, you have all these things still happening around the kitchen table, and you've got to keep that in your forefront of your mind so you win that battle and you don't give up prematurely. Can I hear an amen?
Absolutely.
That's good.
Well, and it goes back to that belief system on that part. I think going back to when we first met, you were moving, I think, from Florida to Tennessee, working. And I just looked at, the work ethic, the fact that, one, I said, I never want to work that hard. I never want to drive that far. I never want to do that many appointments and that kind of stuff. But just the sheer awe of that's what you did, because it was a have to. It was a have to get it done and everything there. But that helped cement that belief system in me. And you said between the ears, it was I think it was at that point I started, reading and studying and doing more development of, the mindset in between. Because when we're born into whatever the lottery is that's there. We didn't pick it, we didn't choose it, that kind of stuff. It's just where we land. But at some point in time, we get to make decisions.
That's right.
We get to decide, I always said, I grew up in a small town. Well, I grew up in a small town, and the friends that I had were the friends of my parents' friends, the friends that I went to school with, the friends that I went to church with, because that's where you were. That's all you had. You didn't go anywhere else.
Right.
When I went to college, I got to choose. I got to decide. So it's like, I don't have to be friends with that person over there. Just like I don't have to have that belief system anymore. I can reset and retool whatever that is. But again, back to that, I call it the 4, and it may be 5, but it's the marriages, it's the babies, it's the divorces, and it's unfortunately the deaths, that are there and that kind of stuff. But those are the big deciding factors that are out there, that those still trigger a home event.
Right.
All the
regardless
time.
of COVID, regardless
Right.
of everything else, those things are still happening.
Yeah, and again, it's about what you said. It's feeling and being in that conversation with those people. There's folks that have put 10-year careers together that have never been in a downturn, that have never had a hard anything that's there on that level. But it's the ones that I think that have that. I feel for these people. I have a heart and that kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I like green pieces of paper with dead presidents on it and that kind of stuff. I don't do this for the charity side. I do it because we were talking earlier or something. My wife gives all our money away. So I have to make more to pay all the bills, and so she can continue to give things away, because she's the charitable side of my family. She's the yin to my yang when it comes to she's going to give it away, because I just put it in a vault and swim in it or something like that. But it equalizes that other side. But I think you came into the business and showed me that picture, because the guy we were working with at the time, I think he's the one that probably planted the seed on those dollar bills and that thing over and over and over again. But you broaden that perspective to say, take care of the people, because the people will take care of you.
That's right.
At that point in time.
Amen.
So was that a reference to DuckTales?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes.
DuckTales.
My favorite character there, Scrooge McDuck. Yes.
It's going to take hard work to get through any of it. For the folks that made it through 08, it was hard work.
Sure.
Just between you and me, just to make it through last year was hard work. It was not an easy from the mortgage standpoint, just because of the pure volume coming at you, and you don't know how to, handle all of that.
Right.
And, maintaining, everybody. You build these systems and then they break just because of the amount of volume, right? And so you have to work through all that. So there's a lot of growth that comes with these times. And if you can hang on, and if you can work through how to really continue to build your business from the ground up, because what happened, we talk about what got you there won't get you, what got you here won't get you there type of thing. So you have to just change your thinking automatically, and your strategies. I have some loan officers that would say, well, they're just not working. The agents, just don't have any business. And so they, to me, put all their eggs in that basket. You have to be diverse. So as real estate agents, buyers, listings, builders, and just continue to think differently. And or if we are being bought out by the out-of-state buyers, then my thought process, if I was a real estate agent, would be focusing on getting more out-of-state buyers, because if they're the ones currently winning, in parentheses, then that would be the way to go. But if multiple applications from California. I would just, let's just say what it is, California,
Yeah, you're seeing it from a different perspective. I bet you are seeing it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I just helped a gentleman, and he's a real estate agent. He's moving here to be a real estate agent, and I was like, you sure you want to do that right now? Because he felt the situation, but, and I had to save that deal at the last second. We're seeing a lot of the folks moving here too don't have the finances squared away, or they think they're set to go, and they're not really. But the whole thing with no appraisals and I'll pay $100,000 over, it's just not realistic. We're kicking people out of doing things the right way. There's an appraisal for a reason. There's a loan application for a reason. So from a mortgage standpoint, I was on a call today, and they shared that this will be the biggest, purchase year, and possibly it will eventually, for us. And
your company's predicting this will be the biggest year?
No, the mortgage is predicting,
Right.
meaning the MBA.
Okay.
National Mortgage Bankers Association.
That this will be bigger than last year?
Mm-hmm. From a purchase standpoint.
Huh. Okay.
Now, again, they may be looking at it because the refis are gone and the purchase numbers
Sure.
are up. They could be looking at it that way, but it should still be a strong year for sure. But again, I look at the numbers that we closed today last year, right? And we tracked more this year than we did last year. But the floodgates opened about April-ish, right? I mean, so there might just be some traction that we need to get going too. But you're right. Why would you sell if you don't have a place to go?
And that's our biggest dilemma, I think, right now, is people are saying, I mean, just Connie and I have thought the same thing. We can get more for our money, more for our house. We're going to turn around and hand that over to somebody else if we could find some place to move.
Right.
Unless you're going out in the country, I think that we're really pushing the parameters around Nashville right now out further out than ever before. I mean, you're going to feel up there in Springfield, you're going to be feeling like you're in downtown Nashville the way that's stretching. Well, you must feel it up there.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's when I first made the move and thought about where am I going to be and that kind of stuff, because, my last office shut down essentially 3-4 months ago and that kind of stuff. And I didn't have a balloon to go to at that point in time, but because
you could have chosen your destiny, brother. You know that.
I do. And we had that conversation. I mean, that was one of those times where, I was at a low and you were one of those phone calls, and had it not been for pure stubbornness or not wanting to learn something new, it's like going out for that side. But being in Springfield, I thought at first, here's a place to land. Here's a place it's small enough I can help grow. It doesn't have a lot of bad habits and that kind of stuff that are in there. And then it goes to, what can I bring to the table? Because I've been a in the shadows background guy for a lot of times. I mean, you've given more accolades on this podcast than I would ever accept or take or wave flags for myself and that kind of stuff, because I've always been in the shadow and I'm good in the shadows. I like pushing and propelling other people, which makes me a good broker, because a lot of agents need that limelight. Right. They need to be in that space and that kind of stuff that's there. But
there's only room for one hero in each story, according to Donald Miller, and I totally believe that. Yeah. And so it makes all three of us really good brokers, because we see that we're busy lifting up others. We don't need the accolades. So
absolutely.
Totally.
But to bring that back around to Springfield, when I drove up there and I finally went, because I made an agreement to go to a place that I'd never been to, so because I liked the people and the atmosphere and everything there. But when I drove there, it was like, they have land.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's where it's headed.
They have lands that you can develop. Yeah. And then I drove through
They've got a cool downtown too.
I drove through a part of town and I was like, wow, this looks like East Nashville about 15 years ago. We could rehab some of these places and that kind of stuff. And then they told me the prices, and I was like, really?
Holy cow, I can buy 3 of them now.
Exactly. So, I mean, working all of Middle Tennessee and that kind of stuff, and, we were road warriors once upon a time, and, I was taught that if it didn't have wheels on it, we could sell it, and if it did have wheels, we just detitle it and kick the wheels off of it and make sure it's got a permanent foundation.
So confirm that with Carey Ann.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. But it's yes, Middle Tennessee has become purely Middle Tennessee. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. Nashville is going to grow and grow and grow until it touches Kentucky, and Alabama on the south side kind of thing. So
I mean, I'm seeing cities I don't even know where they are across my desk. I
know our agents are selling property in towns I've never heard of before, and if I haven't heard about it before, because of what he and I used to do, and for the person who used to be on Dave Ramsey's show, it's like, okay, that's it. If I've not been there, it must be way out there.
Absolutely.
So we need to wind this down. It's been great having you on the show, brother.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I do actually. How can people get a hold of you that want to reach out in case they want to go to the northern hemisphere?
Northern hemisphere,
Springfield, Tennessee.
That's Robertson County, right?
It is Robertson County.
That's where I want to head to.
Robertson County.
There's some great values up there for those listening. Great values.
Absolutely. Andy at andybrownrealestate.com. That's my email address. It's really, really long. Tried to make it easy. It's just my first name, last name, real estate, all crammed together.
.com. There you have it.
And for those agents out there looking for a great broker up there in the northern hemisphere, Andy Brown is as good as it gets.
Hey,
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you again, and thank you everybody for joining us. Come back next week. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.